This week we go comics mad with a look at Batman Arkham Origins out right now. If you would prefer a less solo affair, how about Infinite Crisis, which is now in beta? Or perhaps you want something totally different, so it's time to head to the high seas with Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. This is Player Attack. It's increasingly looking like the end of an era as Nintendo starts to close down Wii console manufacture in various territories. First, we learned that production had ended in Japan, with the company quick to point out that other regions would remain untouched. Just 3 days later, we learned that production had also wrapped up in Europe, meaning that Australia, New Zealand and North America remain among the few Western countries still able to buy a brand new Wii console. In other regions, gamers are encouraged to use the backwards compatibility features of the Wii U. Or, if you're really desperate, try the shiny new Wii Mini, which is a stripped-back version of the 2006 original. But while one era is ending, another is beginning, the age of ridiculously large game downloads. If you're the sort of person who has a capped data plan with only a certain amount of gigabytes available each month, you might be better off continuing to buy your games on disc. For example, Killzone Shadowfall, a launch title for the PlayStation 4. It is 40GB to download, although you will be able to play it after snagging just 7.5 from the servers. Before you get too upset, the texture-heavy game has actually been pared way back. At one point, the Guerrilla Games title was a whopping 290GB in size. Similarly, minimum system specs for these new generation titles are growing increasingly more demanding. Call of Duty Ghosts will require a 64-bit operating system, 40GB of hard drive space and 6GB of RAM, which is pretty similar to the revised specs for Watch Dogs. And keep in mind that both games will run more nicely on 8GB of RAM. It might be time to upgrade your gaming rig. But if you were planning on upgrading for Titanfall, you still got a little while to wait. EA has confirmed that the mech-heavy game won't be released until March 2014. Even further away is The Sims 4, not due out until September-ish next year in the Northern Hemisphere autumn. The new Titanfall date does give you enough time to save up for the ridiculous Collector's Edition though. You can get an exclusive collectible 18-inch Atlas Titan statue complete with battery-powered LED lighting and its own diorama setting. There's also a full-size art book and an Atlas Titan schematic poster so you can figure out how it all works. Unfortunately, such a special edition comes with a special price. In Australia, it's $400. In the US, $250. In most places, it's a serious chunk of the price that you paid for the Xbox One you bought to play it on. In Grand Theft Auto 5 news, Rockstar Games has announced that it is holding your $500,000 stimulus package to ransom. Even though payments were meant to have gone out sometime in October, the studio has announced that the $250,000 installments have been delayed. We don't know quite when your in-game wallets will be filled, but word from Rockstar is equal parts concerning and encouraging. The developers will only pay up once the majority of Grand Theft Auto Online bugs have been squished. Another title that's getting a bit of bug-squishing attention is Dark Matter, which caused a little bit of fuss early last week when gamers discovered it simply didn't have an ending. Developer Interwave hopped onto online forums and announced basically that it was your fault for not supporting the Dark Matter crowdfunding project. Neither Steam nor goodoldgames.com felt that this was an appropriate reaction and they promptly pulled the game from sale. And then the plot thickens. Publisher Iceberg Interactive revealed that a decent chunk of the development team had been sacked somewhere before the game's release, and the vast majority of the original Dark Matter team is no longer working on the project. Instead, the game has been handballed to a new company who is working on a new ending for the Metroidvania title. Whether or not those burned bridges can be rebuilt is another story. Sony is also potentially burning bridges with a few design features on the DualShock 4 set to ship with the PlayStation 4 later this month. Traditionally speaking, since 1997, the company has included pressure-sensitive analog buttons on its controllers. The new DualShock will have standardized digital buttons capable of registering only 2 states, on and off. True, the only recent game that really took advantage of the analog system was Gran Turismo 5, which let you gently increase pressure on the shoulder buttons to mimic a gradual acceleration. Still, it is sad to see those features retired. And finally this week we are headed back to the cinema, but we would be if we were in Japan. Bayonetta is getting the anime treatment, and Bayonetta Bloody Fate is hitting Japanese screens next month, with characters based on art from the original game. Bloody Fate is being directed by Fuminori Kizaki, the man behind Afro Samurai, while the art design is coming from a team behind Super Street Fighter 4 and the recent Evangelion films. It's set to launch in select theatres from November 23rd, and while we're not ruling it out, there is no talk of a Western release just yet. To keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com, but for now, stick around, we've got plenty more still to come. I'm with Jeffrey from Turbine. We are talking about Infinite Crisis, which is a brand new MOBA game. It looks like it's shaping up to be something a bit special.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited about it. It's great to be here on the floor, have players play all day. Actually, we've been having pro teams come in and compete in the game, which has been really, really fun.
And how have they been going? Are they finding it challenging, or are they able to pick it up pretty quickly?
They pick it up pretty quickly. Intentionally we want the game to be familiar to MOBA players, but I think they're also having fun because they feel like it's unique to some of their experience.
And what makes it unique in the current sea of MOBA games?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, obviously it's the DC universe, but more importantly it's the DC multiverse, which is something that's never been seen in a game before. DC multiverse is part of the fiction. There's all kinds of different universes that characters come from, and so this makes us able to do things like, so not only do you have Batman that you can play, but I can play Nightmare Batman, who's a vampire. Or I can play Steampunk Batman. He's called Gaslight Batman from a world called Gotham by Gaslight. And for a MOBA, that's exactly what we need. You have all these really cool, diverse characters, but they still feel like the characters that you know and love.
And so, you just mentioned 3 different Batmans. Do they all have the same skill set?
No, completely different skill sets. So, an ult for Nightmare Batman, who's a vampire, is at the end, his ult is jump on your back and bite your neck, like a vampire would do, right? Whereas Gaslight Batman has a set of sonic guns, and he has this huge sonic device that shoots across the entire map. So, no, it really gives you all kinds of different roles, but you're still playing Batman. It still feels like Batman. So that's one thing that's really exciting about the game. The other is, with superheroes and supervillains, it led us to destruction in the game. When we're thinking about a MOBA, the camera's high up, these are super beings. How are they going to feel larger than life? It's the environment around them. If these guys are fighting each other in a city, that city's going to look different when it's done. It's going to be blown to pieces, right? So that led us to some really cool gameplay, actually, where now the map is part of the gameplay. The environment is part of your weapon. If you have super strength, there's a car, you can pick it up and throw it at the other guy. If you want, you can explode something if you have the right power set. Explode something next to a team and actually cause them huge amounts of damage. And then we have things called catastrophic events, where things from outside the map actually come and crash into the map. So in the map that they're playing today, if you control the right kind of control point, a meteor will come out from another universe and go smashing into the map, causing damage, creating all kinds of new opportunities for gameplay. So it's really cool.
Where did the idea come from? What made Turbine go, you know what, let's combine those 2 awesome things?
Well, we were looking for something that would be more familiar to players. MOBA is something that a lot of people are playing and loving, but there's a bunch of people out there who I think have been thinking about it, but not sure if they want to get involved in something quite so complicated. But, when you're playing Batman, you're playing Superman, you're playing Wonder Woman, it feels a little more familiar, and it sort of encourages you to come give it a try, give it a look. So that felt like a great thing. Also, just where else are you going to find characters that are this exciting for this kind of game, this well-defined? We don't have to invent a lot. It's there. Although we have a lot of freedom to kind of create new versions of the characters. And then as far as destruction, having a sort of deeper, more open-ended meta for this kind of game felt like a great opportunity. So.
Now, we've mentioned a handful of characters, and I know the roster is exhaustive.
Yeah.
I've seen
bits and pieces, and I know that even I've only scraped the surface. Can you give us a really quick rundown of some of the most exciting characters that you've announced for the game to date?
Well, some of the ones that we have in the game right now. So we talked about Vampire Batman, who everybody loves, Nightmare Batman. We've got, we have a version of the Joker. So the Joker, just the way you'd expect him. Some of his skills are, throwing a present at you that explodes. He has a toy baby doll that is an exploding bomb. What you'd expect from Joker. But we also have Gaslight Joker, who's this big, giant butcher who runs around carrying a meat cleaver and an infested ham hock. And so one of his skills is to throw the infested ham at you, and all these rats descend on you and eat you alive. So what could be cooler than that, right? We do have a lot of people on our team who are huge DC fans and actually probably have read every comic book, which is inconceivable to me, but yeah, no, they've been great to work with, and I think part of the reason why it's been so fun for all of us, including DC, is that it's such a natural fit. DC is all about characters and different distinct characters. MOBAs are all about characters, so it was just perfect, and they're excited about it to get these Elseworld characters and worlds out in front of the public. There is a bunch of lines of new Infinite Crisis themed toys that they're coming out with. Just check them out. That came from discussions with them about some of our designs, some of their designs. I mean, it's a great privilege to be able to work with them.
How much freedom did they give you? I mean, they've created the characters, except they might not have fleshed them out quite so much. So did they give you guys, hey, just these, there you go, have at it?
It's a little more complicated than that, but no, actually they've been great. So a lot of the characters, the worlds that were fleshed out in the comics, it's all there for us, and we just build from that. In some cases, though, maybe some of the characters weren't explored as much. Gaslight Joker that I just talked about doesn't exist in the original comics, but we talked about the idea of him, showed them some concepts. They were so excited that now he's a full-fledged character. In fact, maybe someday there'll be a statuette of him.
We are coming up to the busiest time in the gaming calendar, the dreaded holiday season, and there are some major new releases on the way in the next couple of months, including Call of Duty Ghosts, the brand new FPS from Activision and Infinity Ward. And thanks to Activision and Mother, we have a year's supply of Mother energy drinks to give away. That is 365 cans of caffeine, taurine and guarana, guaranteed to keep you awake for just a little while longer, no matter how late you stayed up the night before fighting against the Federation. In order to win a year's supply of Mother, all you have to do is head to playerattack.com and tell us, in 50 words or less, what game you are most looking forward to this holiday season. The competition is open to anyone in Australia and runs until the end of the month, with the winner announced on Player Attack in early November. For the full terms and conditions, see our website, and please drink responsibly.
The Black Mask, currently the #1 Gotham crime lord, has placed a price of $50 million on the Batman's head. And what that means is it's brought 8 of the greatest assassins of the DC universe to come and compete for that prize.
8 assassins after your head. What are you going to do?
I'm going to find Black Mask and put an end to this.
I hope we have a story that not only conveys the emotion of these events, but also really feels like all the puzzle pieces of Batman's universe clicking together. Because at the start of our story, I'll give you an example. Captain James Gordon, he is not the police commissioner at this point in the story. He's a police captain. He doesn't have the trust of the department. The various cops of the GCPD, which is a very corrupt department, consider him to be kind of an outlier because he doesn't take bribes, he doesn't hang out with them, he doesn't play by the rules. He actually wants to enforce the law. Well, he's actually actively hunting the Batman at the start of our story. He's the head of a vigilante task force. And so you know where they're going to end up. You've seen the other games. You know that eventually James Gordon and Batman are going to be great friends. But at this point in time, they're not.
I'm on your side.
My side? My side works within the law. We've earned Gotham's respect.
If that were true, I wouldn't be here.
Gordon, clear the line of fire! You've got nowhere to run.
Do you have a favorite Batman story?
Oh, a favorite Batman story? That's a tough one. That's a very tough one. That's like saying choose only one of your children and make it your favorite, right? Like, you can't do that. there are different stories which are great for different reasons, but one of the things that really drew us to the prequel space was, for me, that I really liked the vibe of the original Legends of the Dark Knight series when it came out. It came out hot on the tails of Year One, when Year One came out, and then there was a wave of people going back and revisiting, this was in the 80s, right, the late 80s, who were revisiting the roots of where these characters came from and exploring them through more contemporary lenses, I suppose, right? Stories like Emerald Dawn for Green Lantern, and Year One for Batman was really kind of the spark that lit that fire. So Legends of the Dark Knight was a continuation of that, exploring not just Year One, but more like, it's all kind of in Year Two. He's always expected to meet Dick Grayson in Year Three, and start to adopt him and get him as his ward, and then bring him up to be Robin. So Year Two is this kind of rich, vibrant space for a solo Batman who doesn't know a lot about himself, who doesn't know a lot about the characters in his world, but he gets to meet these characters for the first time, just like in the Legends of the Dark Knight comic book, and we get to have these pivotal events that take place where Batman can be inexperienced enough, he's still very skilled, but he's not experienced enough to make mistakes, and then have to learn from those mistakes and adapt and evolve and change.
You're a young man with a trust fund and too much anger.
I am the reason the criminals breathe easier when the sun rises.
Batman's had a whole bunch of gadgets throughout these sort of games. Has he got anything new or anything that we haven't seen before that you can talk about?
Absolutely. We have a few new gadgets we've shown for the game. I don't think we've shown everything on the PR campaign yet, but probably the one that's been the biggest success, the one people are most excited about so far, has been the remote claw. So if you've seen the other games, you'll have seen that Batman has a gadget called the Bat Claw, and it's kind of like a pistol with a big claw on the end which you can shoot out. The claw will go out on a cable, it attaches to targets, and you can use that to pull objects or enemies towards them. You can do fight moves, you can use it to access vents and the like. You can use it to pick up objects. Well, we kind of have the big cousin of the Bat Claw in Arkham Origins, which is called the Remote Claw. And what that is it's more of a kind of a carbine form factor device, and it's got a big heavy projectile that it launches out the front. And that's kind of like a Bat Claw in itself. So he shoots at a target, the projectile shoots out, hits that target, and then a cable with a claw shoots out the back of that and hits another target. It's a very versatile gadget that we can use to combine with the different elements of gameplay. And it's kind of fun. It's got a little bit of player creativity to it. It lets the player really change the Predator rooms too, when Batman's fighting a lot of gunmen and he's moving from gargoyle to gargoyle, because he can build a big strip of gargoyle basically between two of them by building that tightrope and then doing takedowns off the tightrope.
Gotham isn't a city anymore. It's a battleground. And whoever controls the most turf is going to rule this whole town.
Who is Batman's greatest enemy? Who is the one person you think is actually going to take Batman down?
Well, there's two questions there. Who is his greatest enemy? His greatest enemy is Joe Chill, because he'll never get to beat him. He'll never actually be able to stop the bullets that killed his parents, and that's the thing he's always trying to do at the back of his mind. It's the one fight he can never win, and it's the one wound that he can never heal from. So I think that's his greatest enemy, and I think that's the thing that drives him and created him. The other question was, who's going to take him down? Who's going to take Batman down? That's a trick question, because Batman can't be taken down.
Have you ever been disrespected? Forced to follow orders? Would you rather defy your masters and live by the creed of pirates?
We've put a lot of love and effort into this game. We've been working on it for over 2 years now. So it's super thrilling and exciting to let people have hands-on, like today, and beyond that to actually ship the game and have people play the full experience and go on this journey with Edward and the Jackdaw. So it's a wonderful time.
What sort of reaction have you been getting from the people who have actually been able to go hands-on with the game?
It's been incredibly positive, incredibly strong. I think people are really surprised by how the naval, the piracy element fits so well with the Assassin's Creed universe. I think people are loving Edward. He's really charismatic and charming, but he also shows his flaws, which makes him a human character, I think. People have been loving the naval combat, loving exploration of forts, and we have a coconut island in one place that people can visit. And I think people are really surprised by the types of environments and how they fit into the AC universe, which is a brand new thing for us. So it's been super positive, and it's really thrilling. It's really gratifying as a developer to see all this.
Because this is really quite different. I remember when it was first announced, everyone went, you can't take Assassin's Creed and give it pirates, and you can't take Assassin's Creed and take it out of such an urban type of setting. So it's really good to hear the fact that people are reacting so positively to something that is a really significant jump for you guys.
Well, the thing is, you know, we do ship an AC every year. This was something that our CEO announced. That doesn't mean we work on them on yearly periods. We actually take multiple years to make each game, but you know, we have to take risks. And in this case, we decided to, you know, it's not simple to just say we have free running, we have stealth, we have fight, and all of a sudden we have naval combat as part of the core experience. It's a huge risk to do something like that, but we need to. We need to surprise our fans. We need to create something new. The fact that we're on next-gen title also forced us to think, how can we build a brand new open world? And that's where the naval sandbox comes in. So, you know, we knew that people were going to be a bit shocked and a bit surprised, but it's our job to innovate and to try something new and to take risks and hopefully do a great enough job that people are blown away by it. And I really think people will be.
You mentioned that you're able to do new things on the new generation consoles. What sort of specific things are you able to do now that you could never do before?
You know, obviously the machines are so powerful, they look spectacular, so the game looks great. Beyond just the look, which is the obvious stuff, you know, one thing we talk about is that we looked at the immersion of the world. One of the successes of AC is that we build credible, rich, full of life open worlds, and we're constantly trying to improve the immersion of this. As a quick example, with Next Gen, all the foliage in the game world has physics on it. So I know it's almost a silly idea, but when you think about it, it means that when there's wind, it reacts properly. When there's rain, it beads off of it properly. When a character walks through it, it actually reacts to them properly. On current gen, we just could not do that at all. And so the level of immersion on the next gen is just much better, it's much higher. Beyond that, we take advantage of the hardware. So on the PS4, the DualShock 4 controller, we use the touchpad. We have remote play on the PS Vita, so you can play Black Flag on the Vita, you know, connected to your PS4. So you know, we do take advantage of the hardware itself. There's a lot of extra little features. I will say that the core experience of AC4, Edward, the story, the seamlessness, the diversity of the world, this is all the same. And on current gen, it is the most beautiful current gen AC we've ever built. It's a stunning game. And just on next gen, the machines are so much more powerful that we're able to push it quite a bit. So we have multiplayer. It's an improvement. It's an iteration on top of the multiplayer we've had in previous ACs. The biggest new thing for us now is that obviously it's all pirate themed, new maps, new characters. But beyond that, there's this thing called the Games Lab. And the Games Lab allows our community to take game modes and create their own new game modes. And they have hundreds of options to play with. And the idea is, you know, people out there are going to be more creative than us. They're going to come up with more interesting game modes. And we're actually totally open to actually promoting it for them and sharing it. And so you can put them up and have people download your own game modes and people can vote on them. And the idea is the cream of the crop will rise. And then we'll even feature it as part of our core feature set if, you know, and give credit to those people. So it's something that's exciting for the community, I think.
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. Next week, we're getting our hands on Battlefield 4. Mel's back with her take on The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD, and we spend a bit of time with a selection of quadcopters, picking the best of every budget. In the meantime, you can catch us on playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.